imagine this. It's the middle of the night, sometime between 2 and 3 a.m. The streets are completely silent. The neighborhood is dark. You're lying in your bed, fast asleep, feeling safe inside your own home with your family. Suddenly, you wake up to a terrifying moment. A masked man is standing right over your bed. You feel something cold pressed against your throat. In a low, icy whisper, he says, "Be quiet. Don't make a single sound, or I will kill you and everyone else in this house." This nightmare did not happen just once. It happened repeatedly, month after month, year after year, for more than a decade all across California. The man responsible for these horrifying attacks became one of the most feared and notorious predators in American true crime history. He was called the Visalia Ransacker, the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker, and eventually the Golden State Killer. If you love long, detailed, spine-chilling true crime stories with full background, investigation, and everything explained step by step, then hit that subscribe button right now, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any new upload. Today we are going to take a deep, complete dive into the full horrifying true story of the Golden State Killer. Joseph James DeAngelo Jr. was born on November 8, 1945, in New York. His family later moved to California. From the outside, his life looked ordinary and even respectable. He served in the United States Navy during the Vietnam War era. After returning, he joined law enforcement and worked as a police officer in the city of Auburn, California, roughly from 1976 to 1979. After leaving the police department, he worked as a mechanic for many years. He got married, had children, and lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Neighbors and colleagues described him as a quiet, unassuming man who kept to himself. No one who interacted with him in everyday life ever suspected the monster that lived inside him. His criminal activities are believed to have begun in the mid-1970s in the Visalia area of California's San Joaquin Valley. In this early phase, he was known as the Visalia Ransacker. He committed more than 120 burglaries over a short period. He would carefully break into homes, often at night, and spend a long time inside. He ransacked drawers, closets, and personal spaces. He stole items that had emotional or sentimental value, jewelry, family photos, and especially women's underwear, which he kept as trophies. These were not just random thefts. They showed a pattern of invading people's privacy and taking pleasure in their fear. On September 11, 1975, his crimes turned deadly for the first time. He broke into the home of Professor Claude Snelling. When the professor tried to confront and stop the intruder to protect his family, DeAngelo shot and killed him right in front of his teenage daughter. This murder proved early on that he was capable of extreme violence when challenged. The terror reached a new level in June 1976 in the East Area suburbs of Sacramento County, places like Rancho Cordova, Carmichael, and Citrus Heights. This is when the public and media began calling him the East Area Rapist. His attacks were highly organized and designed to create maximum psychological terror. He would stalk entire neighborhoods for days, or even weeks before striking. He observed which houses had easy access points, when residents went to bed, when lights turned off, what cars were in the driveway, and the daily routines of the people living there. He sometimes made silent phone calls or heavy breathing calls to potential victims days in advance, just to make them anxious and scared. He almost always struck at night. He preferred to enter through unlocked sliding glass doors or windows. He wore a ski mask or hood to conceal his face, gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints, and carried a flashlight, a gun, and binding materials. Victims would suddenly wake up to the horrifying sight of a masked intruder standing over them in their own bedroom. He spoke in a calm but threatening voice and gave very specific warnings. He tied victims' hands and feet extremely tightly, often using cords he brought or items from inside the house like shoelaces, towels, or clothing. When he targeted couples, his methods became particularly cruel. He would force the man to lie face down on the bed, tie him up securely, and then balance plates, glasses, or other breakable objects on the man's back. He warned that if the man moved even slightly and the items fell, he would kill both of them immediately. While the husband was forced to lie there helplessly and listen, he would assault the woman. After the assault, he often stayed inside the house for hours. He would raid the refrigerator, eat their food, drink their drinks, watch television, cry in the corner, or speak strange and disturbing words to his victims to heighten their fear and helplessness. One of the early survivors was a brave 15-year-old girl named Chris Pedretti. In December 1976, while her parents were out attending a Christmas party, D'Angelo broke into her home in Carmichael. She woke up to this living nightmare. Her story, along with many others, spread rapidly through the community. The fear in Sacramento became overwhelming. Women stopped going out alone after dark. Many gave up jogging or walking their dogs. Families rushed to hardware stores to buy deadbolts, extra locks for windows, motion sensor lights, and home alarm systems. Neighborhood watch programs started popping up everywhere. People were literally afraid to fall asleep in their own beds. By the end of 1977, authorities linked him to dozens of attacks on women in Northern California during the East Area rapist phase. In 1978, the crimes escalated into more murders. On February 2, 1978, a young couple, Brian and Katie Majori, were walking their dog in Rancho Cordova when they were chased and shot dead. Police believe they may have seen the rapist or interrupted him, so he killed them to silence any witnesses. This double murder marked a deadly new chapter. By late 1979, D'Angelo shifted his attacks to Southern California. This phase earned him the name Original Night Stalker. His crimes became even more violent and lethal. He continued the same home invasion tactics but now frequently murdered victims by beating them to death with blunt objects or shooting them. Some of the most shocking murders from this period include Lyman and Charlene Smith in Ventura County in March 1980. They were tied up in their bed and brutally bludgeoned. Keith and Patrice Harrington in Orange County in August 1980. Deborah Manning and Robert Offerman in Santa Barbara in December 1979. Sherry Domingo and Gregory Sanchez in 1981. And one of the final known victims, 18-year-old Janelle Cruz, who was murdered in her home in May 1986. In total, Joseph James D'Angelo is linked to at least 13 murders, more than 50 rapes, and over 120 burglaries across multiple counties and decades. The psychological and emotional damage he caused was enormous. Survivors lived with severe PTSD, anxiety, depression, nightmares, and a shattered sense of safety for the rest of their lives. Entire communities were transformed. The fear he spread led to permanent changes in home security habits that are still common today. For more than 30 years, the case remained unsolved. D'Angelo had a huge advantage because he had been a police officer. He knew exactly how investigations worked. He was extremely careful, always wearing gloves, rarely leaving fingerprints, and avoiding other obvious evidence. He even sent taunting letters and poems to local newspapers and police departments, which added to the terror. In those days, DNA technology was still new, expensive, and limited. Different police departments in different counties often did not share information effectively. All these factors helped him escape justice for decades. After 1986, the attacks suddenly stopped. D'Angelo returned to a quiet, normal life as a mechanic in Citrus Heights. He lived with his family, went to work, and stayed completely under the radar while survivors continued to suffer. The breakthrough finally arrived in 2018 thanks to advances in forensic genetic genealogy. Investigators carefully collected DNA from old crime scenes. They uploaded the profiles to public genealogy databases like GEDmatch. Using advanced family tree-building techniques, they searched for distant relatives and gradually narrowed down the possibilities. After months of painstaking work, they identified Joseph James D'Angelo as the prime suspect. On April 24, 2018, the 72-year-old man was arrested at his home in Citrus Heights. Police had been conducting secret surveillance on him. They collected additional DNA samples from his trash to confirm a perfect match with the decades-old crime scene evidence. The arrest made national headlines and brought a sense of relief to countless survivors and families who had waited so long for justice. The court process was emotional and long. In June 2020, D'Angelo agreed to plead guilty to 13 counts of first-degree murder and numerous other charges in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. During the sentencing hearings, many survivors and victims' family members stood up and gave powerful impact statements. They described in detail how the attacks had destroyed their lives, the constant fear, loss of trust, years of therapy, and the way their sense of security was stolen forever. One survivor spoke about being frozen in terror and worrying about her child in the next room. Others talked about lifelong nightmares and anxiety that never fully went away. The judge sentenced him to multiple consecutive life sentences without any possibility of parole. He will spend the rest of his life in prison and is expected to die behind bars. The case inspired the best-selling book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, by the late Michelle McNamara, who dedicated years to investigating it. It also led to several documentaries and TV specials that kept the pressure on authorities and educated the public. Now, before we finish, here is an important safety and awareness message for everyone watching, especially women and girls. If you ever find yourself in a dangerous situation like the victims in this case, try your best to stay as calm as possible. Scream as loudly as you can to alert neighbors or anyone nearby. Fight back if you see any opportunity. Run away the second you get the chance. Call the police or emergency services immediately. Even if you cannot speak, just dial the number and leave the line open so help can be traced. Contact your family or friends the moment you are safe. Every day, take practical steps to protect yourself. Always lock all doors and windows properly before sleeping. Install motion sensor lights outside your home. Consider adding security cameras or a good alarm system. Keep your phone charged and close by at night. Trust your instincts. If something or someone feels wrong, get away immediately. Teach your children and family members these basic safety habits. Look out for your neighbors and report any suspicious activity to the police right away. Small precautions and quick thinking can save lives. If this long, detailed story shocked you, kept you hooked, or taught you something important, please give this video a like. Leave a comment with your thoughts or suggest the next American true crime case you want me to cover, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth, long-form, horror-style true crime narrations. Share this video with your friends and family so more people can learn from these stories and stay safe. Thank you so much for watching this complete deep dive into one of the darkest chapters in California's history. Evil does exist in this world, but justice can still prevail even after many decades. Stay vigilant, stay aware, and stay safe out there. God bless you.